Right now, the richest 1% in America own more wealth than the entire middle class combined. Half the country is struggling to pay the bills, while a handful of families make more in a minute than most workers earn in a year. Politicians promise change, but the system keeps churning out the same winners and the same losers. You feel it in your paycheck, your rent, your future slipping further away. This isn't just bad luck or a rough patch, it's the result of a rigged game. One built on 10 powerful myths that keep you powerless, divided, and distracted while the real looting happens at the top. Tonight we're pulling back the curtain. We'll expose the lies that prop up the powerful, reveal the hidden rules that keep most people down, and show why inequality isn't just about money. It's about who gets to shape the future and who gets left behind. If you've ever wondered why you work harder but fall further behind, why democracy feels broken, or why anger is boiling over across the country, you're not alone, and you're not crazy. Stay with us, because once you see how the system really works, you'll never look at America the same way again. Myth 1. Economics is objective and apolitical. They tell you economics is just math, facts, not opinions. But that's a myth. Economics is not physics. It's a field riddled with disputes, contradictions, and value judgments. Ask two economists a question, you'll get 3 answers. Why? Because economics can't run controlled experiments on whole societies, and every solution is shaped by someone's values or interests. Adam Smith, the so-called father of capitalism, called himself a moral philosopher. Look at debates over unemployment, public debt, or trade. There's no single right answer. One study says raising the minimum wage kills jobs, another says it doesn't. Even established theories get challenged and overturned. The truth? Every economic policy is a choice about who wins and who loses. When a single mom works 2 jobs and still can't afford rent, that's not just a spreadsheet problem, it's a moral and political failure. Myth 2. The free market versus government. We're told the market and government are opposites, locked in a tug-of-war. But every market is built on government rules, property rights, contracts, bankruptcy laws, and antitrust enforcement. The state is the most powerful actor in the market, shaping supply and demand, picking winners and losers. Who writes those rules? In recent decades, corporations and the wealthy have gained outsized influence, bending regulations, subsidies, and tax codes in their favor. The government acts as regulator, buyer, and benefactor. The result: rules that let monopolies form, labor rights erode, and public goods privatize. The free market is anything but free. It's constructed and constantly rewritten by those with the most power and money. Myth 3. Wealth reflects hard work. Rich people earned it. They worked the hardest. That's the story. But the reality? Wealth is increasingly about inheritance, connections, and power. From 1989 to 2007, about 21% of American households received a wealth transfer at any given time, accounting for 23% of their net worth. Over a lifetime, 30% of households can expect an inheritance, making up nearly 40% of their wealth at death. But inheritances aren't spread evenly. The richest families get the lion's share, with Gini coefficients for wealth transfer inequality as high as 0.90 among top income groups. The story of self-made billionaires is mostly myth. Most fortunes are built on inherited wealth, privileged access, or the ability to set their own pay through executive boards. Meanwhile, worker wages have stagnated for decades, and union power has collapsed. The system rewards those who start at the top and keeps everyone else scrambling to catch up. Myth 4. Corporate political donations are free speech. They call it free speech when corporations flood politics with money. But let's be honest, it's legalized bribery. Since the 1970s, corporate PAC spending has exploded, and the ultra-wealthy now account for the majority of campaign donations. Just look at the numbers. The top 10 organizations alone contributed hundreds of millions each in the last election cycle, with SpaceX giving nearly $289 million and Citadel LLC over $108 million. Meanwhile, labor union spending is a fraction of that. The result? Politicians answer to big donors, not voters. The rules get rewritten for those who pay the most, deepening inequality and eroding democracy. Myth 5. The market is neutral. Markets aren't neutral. They're shaped by those with power. Laws and regulations have been systematically rewritten to benefit corporations and the wealthy. Antitrust enforcement has weakened, allowing monopolies to dominate everything from airlines to meatpacking. Oligopoly and monopoly power mean fewer choices and higher prices for consumers, while workers lose bargaining power and wages stagnate. Tax codes are riddled with loopholes and corporate subsidies, letting the biggest players avoid their fair share. The market reflects the interests of those who control it, not some abstract, invisible hand. Myth 6. Global trade benefits everyone. Trade lifts all boats, they say. But the reality, trade deals are written to protect corporate profits, not workers or the environment. Since the early 2000s, the U.S. has lost over 5 million manufacturing jobs and nearly 70,000 factories due to growing trade deficits and offshoring. When China entered the WTO, 3.7 million U.S. jobs disappeared, 2.8 million in manufacturing, and workers of color were hit hardest, losing $10.4 billion in wages in a single year. The jobs that replace them are lower wage with fewer benefits and less union protection. Trade rules aren't natural laws, they're negotiated frameworks that decide who wins and who loses. And for most working Americans, the losses have been devastating. Myth 7. Taxing the rich is socialism. Taxing the rich is socialism. That's the scare tactic. But the facts tell a different story. The richest Americans do pay higher effective tax rates than the middle class, sometimes over 45% when you include state, local, and foreign taxes. But the U.S. also gives massive subsidies and tax breaks to corporations while offering minimal social safety nets to ordinary people. Unemployment benefits, paid leave, and health insurance all lag behind other developed countries. Executives get golden parachutes, workers get pink slips. Amazon paid zero federal income tax in 2018 while its workers relied on food stamps. Progressive taxation isn't radical, it's about balancing the scales and funding the public goods everyone relies on. Myth 8. Corporations and CEOs create jobs. We're told corporations and CEOs are the job creators. But the real engine of job growth? Small businesses and consumer demand. Over the last decade, small businesses, firms with fewer than 250 employees, accounted for 55% of net new jobs in the U.S. When workers have money, they spend it. Businesses grow, jobs multiply. History proves it. Ford doubled worker pay and sales soared. During the Great Depression, government investment rebuilt the economy. Tax cuts for the rich? They mostly get saved or invested overseas. The real job creators are working people spending their paychecks. Myth 9. Inflation is caused by wages and government spending. When prices soar, they blame rising wages or government spending. But look closer. Market concentration and monopoly power let corporations raise prices at will. In 2022, the top 4 meatpackers posted record profits while grocery bills hit an all-time high. Oligopolies in food, airlines, and pharma mean less competition, higher prices, and fatter margins for the few at the top. Most economists agree monopolies make markets less efficient and keep prices high, deviating from the ideal of perfect competition. Market power, not worker pay, is often the real driver of inflation spikes. Myth 10. Unconstrained economic growth is always good. Growth at any cost, that's the mantra. But endless growth means endless extraction and pollution. The environmental economy is growing, up 14.7% in gross value added since 2000, but so are the costs of climate change, resource depletion, and pollution. The U.S. spends more on fossil fuel subsidies than on education. Wildfires, floods, and storms are more frequent and severe. The pursuit of profit above all else is burning our future. We need growth that's sustainable, not self-destructive. Environmental protection and resource management are rising, but they still make up a small share of total GDP. The real question, what kind of growth do we want and who benefits? The truth? The system is rigged, but it doesn't have to be. When we see through these myths, we can demand a fairer future for everyone.